All right, good evening. It is 5 p.m. on the nose. It is July 22nd, 2025. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Argyle ISD Board of Trustees. At this time, we will determine if a quorum is present.
Leanna McDade, present.
Rich McDowell, present.
Leanne Artho, present.
Matt Slayton, present.
And I, Sam Slayton, present. We do have a quorum established. The time is still 5 p.m. and we will adjourn to executive session. All right, good evening. The time is 6:10 p.m. We have returned from executive session. At this time, we will have our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Ms. McGarvey, do you have is there a sign-up sheet? Okay.
All right, this time we'll have our opening prayer. All right. Dear Father God, just want to thank you for the opportunity to come together tonight. Lord, I pray that you be with us, give this board wisdom, direction. Lord, let it be on our heart that we're here to serve every one of these students and faculty and staff in the district. Lord, I pray that our students and our faculty and staff are having a safe and restful summer as we look forward to coming back to school. Again, Lord, I thank you for the opportunity for us to serve this district. And it's in your Son's holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
All right. We did not have anyone sign up for public comment this evening, so that means you don't get to hear my speech. So there's some gratitude for you if you needed something for today. All right. Chief, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Chief Davis.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. We lead it off. All right.
All right.
This is good stuff. I'm excited. Officer Mitchell, go ahead and just stand here. That'll work. Just stand right there. Hey, we're incredibly excited to add to our team tonight. We are, as I've said over and over again, the people in our department are our greatest asset, and throughout the entire district. And we will continue to search near and far for the right candidates and the right human beings to be a part of this organization. And I think we hit yet another home run here in Officer Jeff Mitchell. So I'm just gonna read a quick little summary of some of Jeff's experience as well as some of his accolades. So tonight we're honored to officially welcome Officer Jeff Mitchell to the Argyle ISD Police Department. Officer Mitchell brings with him an incredible 33 years of law enforcement experience, including over a decade spent specifically in school-based policing. And I'll stop right there and say that is the most experience that he brings to our department from that world. So it's fantastic. Tons of experience there. His impressive career has included service with the Irving Police Department, the Trophy Club Police Department, and most recently, the Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD Police Department, where just this year, at the end of the school year, he was named the Secondary School Officer of the Year.
Nice.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Eagle Mountain.
Nice.
Throughout his career, Jeff has completed over 2,500 hours of certified law enforcement training and currently holds the Master Peace Officer Certificate. That's the highest officer certification recognized by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. He also holds an advanced school-based law enforcement certificate, which we were in class actually together this summer, demonstrating his deep commitment to the school safety profession. Officer Mitchell has served in a wide range of leadership and specialty roles, including a supervisor, training coordinator, bike patrol officer, and instructor, and as a tactical rapid response team member with Eagle Mountain Saginaw, which we will lean into here as well. What makes this especially meaningful for our district is that Officer Mitchell and his wife Courtney and daughter Sophia, they are Argyle residents, and his daughter Sophia, sitting here in the second row, is attending Argyle Middle School this fall. This year, Officer Mitchell will serve as the campus officer for Jane Russman Elementary. We are incredibly excited to see his experience, professionalism, and dedication on display. I know he will have a strong and positive impact on our students and staff. We're incredibly fortunate to have him join our team, and we're excited to welcome him as he continues his lifelong mission of service right now here at Argyle ISD. So thank you, sir. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and do the oath of office. So I'll have you stand right there. That'll work. I'll stay here in the microphone. All right, this is always tough because I got to break it up into small bits here. Okay, go ahead and raise your right hand, please. Perfect. And then just repeat after me. So I, and state your name.
I, Jefferson Mitchell,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of an Argyle ISD police officer
that I will faithfully execute the duties of an Argyle ISD police officer
in Denton County, Texas.
in Denton County, Texas.
I will, to the best of my ability,
I will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the state of Texas.
and the state of Texas.
I further pledge to create a safe and inclusive school community
I further pledge to create a safe and inclusive school community
where learning can thrive
where learning can thrive
through proactive engagement,
through proactive engagement,
partnership,
partnership,
and accountability.
and accountability.
I will strive to protect and empower our students and staff.
I will strive to protect and empower our students and staff.
I will faithfully enforce the laws of the state of Texas
I will faithfully enforce the laws of the state of Texas
while always upholding the rights
while always upholding the rights
and freedoms of all individuals, so help me God.
and freedoms of all individuals, so help me God.
Very good. We made it. Congratulations. And now I'm gonna so, as is customary for most law enforcement agencies, is your loved ones pin your badge. So we're going to have Courtney and Sophia officially pin Officer Mitchell's badge on him. It's tons of pressure. It's the pressure. Very good. That was awesome. Picture time. You gotta go up. Come on. Yes.
We have the donations. Donations. Okay, we have our consent items. Here's the July 2025 donations. AABC, fiscal year 2025, number 20, $1,175 for football stadium banners. Total July donations, $1,175. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions on any of the consent items presented? I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent items as presented.
So moved.
Dr. McDade, a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Leanne Artho with the second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Cohen, you're up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, kick it off with our stadium update tonight.
here, a shot of our press box. They are continuing to work on the spray fireproofing on the steel structure. That gives the steel a layer of protection in case of fire, because steel will melt at a very low temperature, so that protects that from that temperature in case of that. So the whole structure is receiving that. So the yellow that you see here is the primer, and then they come behind that with the spray-on fireproofing. They have poured all the concrete. We've got our roof deck on. They are roughing in all of our MEP systems on all 3 levels right now. They are starting framing. You can see a little bit of that down low. They've got the yellow sheathing going on the outside, so that will continue on its way up right behind the fireproofing. And this is just a little closer shot of that, so you can see a little more detail. Some of the things I just told you about. They've got their materials loaded on those floors that they're installing. It is a long way up the stairs. I haven't done it yet. This shot is of the Indoor Activity Center continuing. So here in this photo, they've got all the roof purlins on. This week they started installing the vinyl liner for the insulation. And very soon we should start seeing some roof panels go on there. You can also see they've started the masonry on the exterior wall here on the left side, the east side. You can see that going on. They've actually made progress around all 4 sides now, and they're probably up about 5-6 feet today. This is our home side, our visitor side concession stand. So that is in the dry now. They've actually started rolling roof panels this week. So the roof will start going on there, and they'll actually work in reverse order. So they'll start on visitor side, then go back to the home side with the roofing. Meanwhile, they continue to work inside since they are in the dry with interior walls, framing of ceilings, MEP roughing. You can also see in this photo they've got probably 90% of the flat work poured around there. Actually today it's 100%, so all of the dirt you see in this photo has now got concrete on it. So we're getting the site cleaned up, and we're going to start concentrating on those buildings and not so much on the site work. This is on the home side. Here you can see they're forming up, getting ready to pour some more flat work. They've actually done quite a bit here, and within the next month or so we should see all of that flat work done. And again, concentrating on our concession stands, our press box, all of our buildings. This is just a closer shot of our visitor grandstands. They're probably about 95% complete. They've just got all the detail work to go on before they jump on the home side. We're also waiting to get the press box, the sloped glass on the front. We want to get that installed first before we start grandstands. So they've been working on getting all the structure in place for that. All the glass is on site. So I think over the next month we should see that glass go in and then start on these grandstands on our home side. This shot is of our video board structure going up. You can drive by and see that. They've actually made a lot more progress since this photo was taken. So you can kind of get a sense of the scale of the video board. The structure you see, that is roughly the size video board we're going to have when it's done. So I'll look ahead. We've had some summer work that we scheduled and coordinated with athletics. We closed down the turf field for a month. We've closed down the track for 2 months, and we've been working through that, and we're about to open all that back up. The turf field was actually opened back up 1st of July for practice again. So we're wrapping that up. We're going to continue brick on the concession stands. That has started. Roofing on the Indoor Activity Center is going to start. And then they're going to continue with installation of that video board. And just a reminder, some of the milestones. Our home grandstand is still on track for summer. Sometime in the next month we should see those start. Substantial completion is still looking toward late the end of this year. With the weather delays we've got, that actually needs to be updated. We're in December now for substantial completion on that.
Jeff, can you go back a couple of slides?
Sure.
To the IAC, please?
Absolutely. I think these transitions they put in there slows it down a little bit.
They're great. Okay, yes, this one right here. So with the addition of the IAC, we've had to modify that entrance into the parking lot. Obviously, that you can see that fencing pushed out a fair distance from the IAC right now.
Yes.
Do we expect that to be this way come the start of school?
Yes. It will be slightly modified from this photo, because right now, you have to look very closely, but you cannot enter the parking lot from this entrance.
Right.
That fence is gonna move back so that we can enter the parking lot, but they will immediately have to make a right turn where you see the yellow SkyTrack here in the picture
Okay.
to come into that
So-
closer row of parking. So the row closest to the indoor activity center will still be closed, that drive,
Okay.
and those 2 rows of
But
parking.
we will have that entrance available.
But we
not
will
just
have
the
that
opposite
entrance
side.
available,
Okay.
yes. And then as soon as they get the brick up on that side, we'll open that back up. So that's probably another, couple of months.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? I have to tell them to not put the transitions in there.
Fancy
I
transition.
should have asked the question while we were on that slide.
It's okay. All right, middle school update. So here we've got kind of our overall shot where we can see most of the 50 acres. There's a little bit in the foreground that we don't catch here. They have poured all of our slabs. They are all poured now. All of our paving is poured. In this photo, they also have both tennis courts. Well, there's 8 courts, but it's 2 slabs. They have both of those poured. They're on the right-hand side toward the back. One of them's a little lighter in color than the other because the darker one was just poured when this photo was taken. And this shot is just a direct overhead shot. We're looking at the 2 gyms. Our band spaces are on the left side of the photo, and then toward the top where we don't have any roof deck on, that's some of our athletic locker spaces and choir room areas. There's a shot of the football field. They have started on fence. You can see a little bit of that following the drives in this photo. The fence is going in. They've started the underground irrigation system. And then hopefully when we hit September, when we can still do sod, late September, we'll get the sod down after the summer heat's gone, but when it's still got enough time to grow in this year so we get a good stand of grass and don't spend a lot of money on watering that. Contractor money, by the way, not our money. This is just a close-up photo of those 2 tennis court slabs that they've poured. In this photo, you can see we've got the brick and stone veneer going on. This is the gym and the band space on the left. So this would be probably the back entrance if we're having a weekend athletic tournament. People would park. This is the entrance they would go in, and you've got your concession stand on the inside, both your gyms to your right. Here's just another shot, different wall, putting the stone and brick veneer on. I'm going to look ahead over the next 2 to 4 weeks. We're going to start roofing on the building. All of our site fence will be complete. We're going to continue to work on landscape and irrigation, working from 407 toward the north. Tennis courts will be complete with all of their fences, bleachers, awnings, all of those elements. We'll continue erecting structural steel, and of course the roofing is going to follow the structural steel and roof decking as they work their way around. Are there any questions? No? All right. And then we're still looking at substantial completion in July on this. Elevator install will be coming up early next spring. And we will update this as things change. I hope to beat this on our substantial completion. I hope we're punching furniture and walking the contractor out the door come July.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Carpenter.
Yes. First of all, I've got a couple of introductions I want to make in the room. So, Assistant Principal at High School, Philip Humphreys, has not had a chance to meet all of the board. So, Mr. Humphreys, would you say hello to everybody?
How you guys doing? Was not planning on speaking.
It's
but,
okay.
I am so excited to be at Argyle High School.
had an opportunity to work with the team for the past couple of weeks, and it's been amazing. It already feels like home, so I'm excited to be here.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited to meet all you guys and see what the community and the schools have to offer for our kids. So thank you.
Thank you, we're glad you're here. Miss Knowles, great find, just down the road, I know. That's what you did, right? Okay. I also, and this person doesn't know, I'm about to introduce them, but Mr. Bird, he came to me back in the spring. We were just talking about the growth of our fine arts programs, and so we decided we were going to kind of do a split off from the musical arts and the performance and visual arts. And so Erin Turk is here this evening, and Erin's kind of our coordinating now our performance and visual arts. So we're very excited to have Miss Turk involved in kind of a leadership role. So she was continuing to do all of her theater and taking that on. So you weren't prepared for that, but I saw your smiling face and had to make sure everyone knew that. So congratulations, Ms. Turk.
Thank you so much.
Teacher of the Year as well. So we're very excited for her to have that opportunity. And Mr. Bird for advocating for that. So congratulations. Okay, a couple things going on this summer with some students that I want to share. So Leah Cha has just recently earned an outstanding honor with the State Board of Education. She founded a nonprofit organization called Dear Juvie that's created to bridge the gap between resources and people who need them the most. And so she's recently been honored in Austin. And Leah just continues to keep doing great things. So we're very proud of Leah continuing to do great work over the summer. And then we also found out that recent graduating senior Drew Macarith was named a National Merit Scholarship winner. And so he will be going to the University of Tulsa. And so we're very excited for Drew to earn that honor. That is a very, very, very small percentage of students across the nation that get that. So congratulations to Drew. And then also our Argyle Wind Symphony has advanced past the region and area rounds to TMEA Honor Band Competition. Mr. Bird, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I think you're headed there tomorrow.
I am.
Yes, tonight. Excellent. And so he's going down to get to see them perform. So they're one of the top 16 5A bands in the state of Texas, and looking forward to being in the top 8 when this is all done. So congratulations. Yeah. So we've had a full summer of legislative planning. We are getting daily updates, bi-weekly meetings with TEA as we wait on commissioner rules. So we're continuing. You're going to hear a lot of that tonight. As a board update. And then we get to kick off our leadership retreat tomorrow and Thursday. Very excited to have all of our campus leadership teams, campus leadership and our district leadership of all of our departments right here in this very room. And so we're going to be looking forward to kicking that off in the morning about 7:30 with some breakfast. And then we're going to jump right into, they've been working through a book study this summer, John Maxwell's 5 Levels of Leadership. And so we're going to be working through that and then taking them through some departmental district updates into legislation. So we're going to start with the fun stuff and get into the heavier stuff, but excited to have that kicking off tomorrow. From a community standpoint, if you haven't heard, Governor Abbott has called a special session. It started yesterday. There are 18 total agenda items right now. Basically, they convened, but it's exceedingly difficult for them to address all 18 of these in one single session. So far, the Senate and the House have jointly identified 4 priorities out of the 18. Obviously, the flood relief and mitigation, as we are all grieving everything that's gone on in the Hill Country recently. And then THC regulation, also congressional redistricting, and the ending and replacing of STAR testing. So that does impact us. A couple other things impact education, but that's what they have both agreed as far as a priority item. So they will most likely be get most attention at this point, identified as those priorities, but then we'll be waiting to see what else comes out. There will probably be additional special sessions. As far as we have received an update on the TxDOT program here on 377, and the let date for that, which when the bids for projects are opening considered, is being delayed until May of 26. So we're seeing a little bit of a delay on that. And I think that's probably to be expected by several people, but just wanted to let everybody know that. And then exciting announcement that's going to be coming out tomorrow is that we are bringing graduation home for 2026. And so we're going to be using our brand new state-of-the-art amazing stadium to have our first senior class of 26 be the first ever graduates to walk the stage back home. So looking forward to that announcement coming out very, very soon. I know the high school is excited about that, and we're looking forward to those details. We are steadily enrolling new families and closely watching our class size numbers. As we mentioned all through the budgeting process, the challenge is actual classroom space at our elementary campuses, because every classroom basically has an assignment at this point, but we're continuing to watch that, and we'll be working with elementary principals on Monday to review that information. So that is all I have for today. It's been a busy summer.
The one thing I'll add,
Yes, sir,
not
please.
that it's my report.
Please.
But 407.
This is a perfect opportunity.
But 407, the 407 breakout project is also delayed. So, and I think it's delayed until 27, so I mean.
That is true.
You know, our two major thoroughfares in the district, 407 and 377, are behind schedule, and people complain about it.
We're just gonna get to
constantly.
complain a little longer.
And, you know, I say sometimes our hallways and our traffic look the same on
Uh-huh.
the roads, so
Yes.
we're just dealing with it.
That's right.
All right.
All right, Ms. Stewart, you're up. You got several things right here.
I do. So this one is a standard item every year. This is information-only items. Being a recapture district, Chapter 41, Chapter 49, you know, wealthy district, whatever you want to call it, we have to go through this process every year. And it's basically it's called the Consider for Approval an Agreement for the Purchase of Attendance Credit, and it's option 3, and to delegate contractual authority to the superintendent. Again, it's not anything new. This is just routine for every single summer that we are designated this. We have to go through this process. Do you have any questions on that? Okay. All right. Next one is depository contract. So in the state of Texas, school districts have to do a depository contract every 2 years. Once awarded, I believe you're allowed to have 3 additional 2-year extensions added. We were at the end of our final extension, and so we did have to put this out. We had been with Independent Bank for the past several years. They were merged or bought out, whichever one it was, by South State Bank. So we transferred over to them back in May. When it came time for the RFP, theirs was later than the deadline, so they could not be considered. And so of those that did submit, we will be recommending Point Bank. They do have a local depository branch here in Argyle. And again, this will come back to the board in the August 4th meeting for action. But do you have any questions about the depository contract, what that means for the district, or the actual date will be September 1, it's the date of the contract. And next one is delinquent tax attorney. Again, information only. This one will come back as well on August 4th for action. Same thing with our depository contract. We were at the end of our term, and so we put out our RFQ for delinquent tax attorneys. We did have 4 firms responding, and we will be recommending that we stay with our current firm for delinquent tax collections, but that we utilize a new firm for us, not new to the business, but new for Argyle AISD for the PBS audits and appeals for their services there, and the TNT services, and that is the Lineberger firm. The current firm is Sacco and Burroughs, and we will recommend staying with them for delinquent taxes. Any questions on that one? Okay. I think that's it for me right now.
Okay.
Oh, you can do the next one too, Liz. I mean, if you
You're
want to.
welcome to do
Jump
the next
right
one.
in.
You're absolutely welcome to do the next one. Do you want me to get the clicker from you? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we, as promised, are going to go through and kind of do a legislative review. We're going to hit the most immediate impact education-related bills first and foremost. We do have a team here this evening that I will ask them to kind of come up and be prepared to answer questions as we go through the different bills. We have our campus leadership teams. We have our principals and assistant principals here. As for some of them, we have our athletic department here, Coach Rogers, Coach Westmoreland, Mr. Bird, Ms. Turek. We're all here to provide answers if you have answers, talk about just logistics on campuses and what things may look like as we're working through this process. But let me preface in this presentation, there's a lot of words because if you don't, then things can be taken out of context. So we wanted to make sure everything is on the slides. I don't intend to read all of the slides to you, but I want to make sure everyone has as much information as possible. So the main disclaimer, and this is what TASB will tell you every time they've done a session so far this summer, is that even though update 126 won't come out until mid-October, we have the harmony and law policy, a BF local, and so everything's applicable when it's effective by the legislature. Regardless of what our online policy states, the newly enacted law is applicable when effective by legislature. So we'll work through, we don't get to post our own policy, that comes through TASB, but as we update things, they will post them as quickly as possible, and the big update will be coming in mid-October. So this will be a year-long process, essentially, for all of the legislative changes. So we're gonna start with House Bill 1481. All of these policies have been discussed at some point or prefaced through Facebook channels, just to make sure that information has been out there some, but this is the prohibited student use of personal communication devices. So this is the cell phones, the smartwatches, the wireless headphones, earbuds, AirPods, whatever you want to call them, and anything that can communicate. So that's what we're going to talk about in 1481. They are now prohibited, and it does require a school board to adopt and implement a written policy prohibiting students from using those items while on school property during the school day. So this is not just instructional day, this is bell-to-bell school day. And they do allow the district or the board to determine, if it's stored on campus somewhere or if it's prohibited at all from being on campus. That is up to this board of trustees. It allows the required policy provision for disposing, for confiscating that. So you can choose after so many days and notification, dispose of, but it's confiscated for sure. And then it requires the allowable use of a device necessary for a student that has to have one through an IEP, 504, potentially a directive from a physician, or to comply with health and safety requirement by law or district safety. So like if there was an emergency and the kids are in the classrooms and we needed to make sure they had a way to communicate some form or fashion, that can also be possible. Requires TEA to publish the model policy, so that's what we've been working on with TASB. And then we cannot charge fees. That is a change in the law. Used to, districts could impose fees. Districts can no longer impose fees with the mandatory law. So that's kind of just the gist of the law. So we're going to go through and talk a little bit about the regulations, if you will. So the administrative reg side of what the draft would be that we're recommending is before the school day, students power off everything, store it in a backpack before they ever get in the building. So before you come in the building, turn everything off, stick it in the backpack. It's their responsibility to arrive punctually to class. Has to be out of sight, out of mind, powered off. So that's before they ever get in the building. Throughout the day, they maintain off and away in the backpacks. Again, it says complete school day, not just instructional time. So that is out of sight, powered off, in a backpack, lunch, passing periods, all of that, anything during the school day. And then at the conclusion of the school day, once they're off campus, obviously they're permitted to use their devices and bring those powered back on. So those are kind of the three phases of the school day. There have been some districts that went this strict with it a year or two ago. Actually, Richardson ISD did. They actually have two pathways. One was the pouches, and one was this version right here. And they've had great success with this by using backpacks. So. And we have kind of researched, they had already been out there for a couple of years doing theirs. Obviously, the exception for IEP 504 physician's orders is there. We have started our FAQ on our website. We started that probably about 3 weeks ago. So as we get questions and we're able to answer them, we're adding those to the website, and those are up and live. But that's the exception piece, and it would require it going through special education of 504 or medical directive from a physician. We know we have some students that may need it for, they're diabetic or whatever the case is. They have apps that work those, so that may be one of those. As far as consequences, what we have worked on with our high school and our secondary administrative teams is looking at it's an offense per student and cumulative. So each device is considered an offense, essentially, and so those are confiscated and stored in the office. Warning issued the very first time, with no further consequences, but a parent or guardian has to pick it up. It's not released back to the student, and the offense will be recorded in the student information system. So it's actually a discipline violation and action code. The second offense is all of the above, plus the student's assigned to a day of ISS. So second offense, the recommendation is they go to ISS. The third offense is all of the above, and it's a 1 to 3 day of ISS in-school suspension, and the student is no longer eligible for final exam exemptions. So that would take care of final exam exemptions, and they're completely banned at that point from bringing it on campus at any point. So it's a complete ban after the third. The fourth offense, obviously, that should be banned, but everything plus in-person meeting, still ineligible for exams, insubordination, and subject to DAEP from the Student Code of Conduct. So that's kind of the progression. Obviously, that's up for discussion, up for board input. That is what was developed through student services and our campus leadership teams. So I'll kind of open this up for you guys to talk through, and we can ask our administrators to come to the mic, and y'all can ask some questions.
On the first offense, if the student is an adult, does the parents still have to come in?
Yes, because they're a student. Student first.
Okay.
Well, I have a question, but more so for.
Why don't y'all come on up so
For
that way if it's.
extracurriculars.
Okay.
I know band uses cell phones for like marching, and then kids use smartwatches for running. So is that in the policy?
Is it before or after school or during the
Well, during
period?
the period.
But y'all need to come to the mic, so we gotta record.
So, band, we do use ours, they're kind of GPS oriented on the field, so we use them. They have an app, and it literally tells them on a football field, like exactly where they're standing, how close they are, and listening. So for us, we only use it after school or before
Right.
school.
Okay.
We do not use them in the classroom.
That's good.
So that takes
we
care of
haven't done
that.
for some time, but before and after school.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
you're welcome.
Cross country. Coaches,
Or
wanna talk
track.
about, or track.
I don't know exactly what Coach Rogers stepped out.
Are they running during the period or are they running before or after school? Do y'all,
They usually start, I think most of them run before school, but they could be able to overlap.
yeah, they may have to have stopwatches.
Right.
I mean, just
And they do
traditional, old school
Yeah, we'll probably
stopwatches.
just go with
Mhm.
that. So we'll get with Coach
Okay.
Carter and Coach Terry.
What What about elementaries? We're not doing it at all?
No, and they haven't
No
been. Elementary
backpack,
principals,
no-
y'all wanna talk through that a little bit? I need y'all at the
What are
mic,
we doing in
please.
elementary?
Come on up.
I didn't hear it.
No, that's okay, I'm just saying, I just need everybody to come up to the mic. Elementary,
What are we
what,
doing in elementary? This talks
For
about
phones.
secondary.
Mhm.
For phones.
This is the same offenses, except for,
Smartwatches are probably the thing that we deal with the most at the elementary level. The smartwatches are the things that we probably battle the most. So we'll
So
just,
now
we'll
they're not-
follow the same,
Okay.
we'll take them.
We already had the protocol in our student handbook that they would put their cell phones off and in their backpack as soon as they entered the building, so that won't change much.
This will just support what we've already done.
Yes.
It'll just help support what we've already done.
Okay.
cause that's what you've been your normal practice,
Mhm.
yeah.
But the watches has been what's been difficult,
Mhm.
which now this will just help us enforce it.
And possibly the AirPods as well.
Right.
So they'll need the ones that plug in.
Which is on the school supply
Yeah.
list anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, man, I have a lot of thoughts on this. And my first thought was, if the state is gonna say that these are not appropriate for educational spaces, and then they put it on us to enforce, and they don't necessarily give money or anything to do that, and that's frustrating in some ways, but it's kind of like, for me, my first instinct is just to say, well, if they're saying these are like vapes and knives and everything else, just treat them like that and say, don't bring them. You know, and if you don't like it, call the state rep or vote or do something. And I just would maybe welcome, and especially at the elementary school level, where I kind of wonder whether or not they should even have those devices there with the judgment and that's in play.
That's right.
We have a lot of walkers, so I think some parents send the phone with the kids, so at least they have it on their walk home.
And so if I was to sit there and say, well, I'm just like, you know what, ban them. You know, don't bring them. Would you, I guess I'm taking it, and I heard, what you said about how fine arts uses them, that would probably be quite disruptive, so that helps me. Would y'all have similar pushback on, at the elementary school, we're just not gonna have them? They're just not allowed?
During the school day.
Yeah, I'm just saying, no backpack.
Don't bring them at all.
Bring them at all.
Backpack.
They shouldn't even be in your backpack. Or would you say
I think
that would be
for
disrupt-
safety reasons, the parents would
For the
maybe
children
have,
that are walking.
have a hard time with that. Even the ones that ride the bus, they
Even
want to
bus
make sure their child gets to school safely and gets home. But during the day, they don't.
They already don't use them, yeah, they
They're not
already
using them
power them
during the
off
day.
and put them in their backpacks.
So were they pretty
But
good?
again, if they're using them, they're using the watches, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they shouldn't be, but that's what they're
But they're
using.
using
If
it.
they're using them, they're not taking their phones out, they're using their watches that have cellular on them.
And
Text their mom.
I will say just, because I wasn't at elementary, so I don't have that, I'm moving there. But at 6th grade, we had that same policy. We pulled it up with them and didn't let them, and that became our biggest problem last year was smartwatches. So having those, knowing that if we see them, we can take them or have them powered off and that.
But how
needs to
much
be
time are
pushed.
you trying to enforce that instead of teaching and doing all that, right? Because I look at it a lot like Mr. Westrom, is kids are going to find a way
Or you're gonna try.
to utilize that phone, or oh, my mom needs this, or my mom told me to text her when I was done with the test, or whatever.
or I've got to go to the bathroom, and now all of a sudden the
We got
bathroom
locked.
becomes.
That's
you know.
where we had them. They were leaving class at 6th grade with their watch on.
Right.
And going to text, and then they're not back for 10 minutes, so you're fine. And then mom's showing up to pick them up because they don't want to be there. But so having something like this, I mean, because this was even hard last year, some pushback at that.
Because
grade
we've
level.
had a cell phone policy, but it's been hard to enforce.
Yes.
Is that
But
fair?
I think now it just goes back to, well, it's the law,
It's
so.
legislated,
Yeah.
so that backs us up a whole lot more.
Well, you can. I mean, that's a board call in the policy.
So if we banned them, but then a kid goes to football and leaves at 2:00 and needs his phone and all that sort of stuff.
I think you'd have to do it by
Elementary and secondary.
elementary versus secondary.
Because
'Cause
secondary,
kids leaving to go to volleyball or whatever, you can't.
Right.
I mean, they're on the, Coach, you can speak to that. I mean, your kids sometimes have to check out at noon or 2:00 and.
I gotta have music.
It puts an extreme pressure on, if they don't have their phones on a trip, we have the parents get contacted on the way in, so the parents can time the bus out, and those kind of things. It's gonna put a greater burden on staff to stay and wait around for, parents to pick up if there's not some traffic device or something on their phone or something.
And do you communicate with, I mean, because we have Sports U, and do kids that participate, and a lot of parents track that, but kids also, do they use that for
We need them to come
communication?
up and
with-
talk on the microphone.
Yes.
Coach Rogers, will you come up on the microphone? Got to get on the recording. Thank you.
You also have baseball, softball who leave campus and they travel to the campus for the sports facility.
In period.
What?
In period, in school.
During the school day?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And so you would be saying, hey, let's try something like this. Let's see if we can enforce it, be consistent about it, as opposed to saying, hey, ban them. State says they're no good.
I'm not for banning them.
Okay.
I have 100 cross-country kids that live in, no pun intended, live and die by this, right? It's a training tool, right? And so they're out there beating the paths in Canyon Falls or wherever they go and run that day, and it's tracking heart rate. Our coaches are recording it. Our coaches are planning the next week's running around heart rate, pace, all those things, all the data that's collected on this. It is the very essence of his training model. And so, yes, I mean, with this rule right here, they'll have to take the watch off during the day and then put it back on, which I think it's doable. But yeah, banning it would not be favorable. That would not be a favorable situation for athletics. Are we going to have to chase kids to the bathroom during athletics so they transition, all that stuff, and keep it? Well, we're monitoring the classroom, monitoring the locker rooms just like we always do. You're just going to have to create new habits and try to get them to abide by the rule. I mean, it's just a challenge we're going to face.
And they're not going to want to be in ISS where they're trying to have
Bless you.
playing time.
In the microphone.
Because is there an eligibility issue if they're in ISS the day of a game, a Tuesday basketball?
There actually is. The school district does not have a policy against ISS. Yeah, like if we were leaving, right, and get on the bus and they were in ISS, yes, they have disallowed themselves.
And so from the administration standpoint, this is something y'all have worked with through the committees. You got the feedback from the principals, maybe teachers, athletics, fine arts, and they feel like this is a policy that we can implement and enforce with consistency and successfully.
You'll come on back up.
Oh.
Yeah, we think it's gonna be, we're gonna have our hands full. It's going to be, we're talking today about where we're gonna store the phones, what the checkout process is, how late do we have to have somebody stay for a parent, you know, as a working parent. You know, we can't tell them they have to be here by 4 o'clock to pick up their kid's phone. Yeah. We've got kids driving, that is a concern. That's one of my concerns, is we're putting a kid in a car without their phone. We're putting them on a bus, you know, but they shouldn't have their phones
So
out.
don't break the rules.
Right.
Exactly.
If you keep it in your
I mean,
backpack,
at some
you have
point,
your
it
phone.
has to be the rules of the rules.
Right.
So that is, we've got a plan in place, and we think it's gonna be, at first, it's gonna hit some pretty hard, but they'll figure it out. We have good kids, they're smart kids, they'll figure it out.
And you have supportive parents.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's gonna be the key in any policy like this, is that the district had to come up with a policy that complies with the law, and and the parents, the successfulness of it's gonna be the parents supporting the district in implementing this.
And with every time, you know, that parent's gonna get a phone call. And, you know, we talked today about one day of ISS it'll kick you out of NHS. So that's something we've got to make sure the kids know in our class meetings, like one time you get caught with a phone and you're out of NHS. That's pretty impactful.
And exam exemptions.
Yes.
So that seems to penalize the high school more than others, I don't know.
Well, Ms. Lumsden, when you talk about middle school, like, what's the impact on middle school? Because you've got NJHS, you've got,
Right, there would be some things that discipline on record would take kids out of. I wanted to state that, like, the fact that y'all are making it so clear makes it much easier for us to enforce, because it isn't just Kobe Pelt has decided this for the 8th graders, it's a district policy. The one thing I'm concerned about is just like the after school, Shannon kind of mentioned this, but like, I think the most prudent time parents are gonna wanna come pick it up is when they're coming to pick up their kids. And so you have to think right after school. I think the inconvenience factor of the parent having to come and pick it up will help parents help us enforce the rule. But let's say it's 4 o'clock and you're at the middle school, it takes all of us to do bus duty. So me, Kobe, and Laura are not gonna be available till about 4:15. By that time, my office staff is gone. And now I have a parent who has rushed up to get the phone, and they may have been waiting 30 minutes because I have to deal with safety of dismissal before I deal with giving you the cell phone back that your kid broke the rules. So I think there's some logistic things. I in a way wish the first time we could release it to the student, but then again, I want to set the impact that if the parents know they have to come get it, they're very inconvenienced. They understand the state gave us this law. So I like it being very spelled out. The right after school time concerns me. Just how are we going to do that without making people more angry than they need to be? Because we'll take the brunt of that.
Would it help at like schedule pickup this year, this policy be signed off by the parent and the student?
We're gonna, for sure, Kobe and Laura and I already talked about having a poster up that explained it. We have a new parent orientation. We could collect a signed piece of paper, but that's a lot of printing, so probably wouldn't wanna print 1,100 copies of that.
What would be wrong with saying you can pick it up the next morning?
Yeah, during the school hours would be ideal, just because we don't have office staff and the door's locked. So it's, you know, people might be stuck outside. How long do we sit and watch the window to see if the parents show? I think we have to kind of clarify when the pickup for the phone zones are.
During the next school day.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have to come during lunch at the next school day.
Or just drop off the next morning or whatever.
The following school
Yeah,
day.
those are all good suggestions. I would say if we added that to the policy, it would help us not take the brunt of people being mad at us for not. Because just the afternoon is a very crunch time where it really is already. I know Laura Toulis would tell you that is an all hands on deck moment to get everybody, to get everybody out of the building. So that's my only concern, but I appreciate it being spelled out and firm. Like, I appreciate that it's firm because that allows us to enforce it.
So as Mr. Westrom said, right, we could go the route of completely banning them,
but we're not doing that. We're trying to give them some ownership and be able to participate in this. If it doesn't work, we can change the policy and go right to banning them.
Right. Our admin regulations
Say,
can
we
be
tried
adjusted.
to be flexible and give you some ownership in this, you didn't take it, now they're not allowed at all.
Well, one thing we've talked about since we've been here is the wording is on school property. If we could make it where it's during school hours, cause like band, after school, they need their cell phones.
It says school day, entire
Oh, it does
school
say
day.
school day.
Yes, it's
Okay.
school day. Yes, and that's the way it'll be written in F&C. I know, but in the regs and everything, we have it, yeah, you're good, thank you, good point.
So what happens on?
In the regs, it says
Seventh and eighth
entire
grade,
school day.
Volleyball leaves at 2:00 in the afternoon too.
Right, but they'll have it on them, they won't be on campus.
So it's a combination, I think, of school day and traveling to
Right,
a
'cause that goes back to the safety piece.
At 2:00, they gotta have it when they leave.
Just like they can have them on the bus after
Okay,
school.
so they can have them on the bus.
To me, that's what,
That's
the way I would
That falls
interpret it.
back into the
And I
safety
think
protocols.
that if they lost their phone and due to taking it out and they went on a school trip that day, I think it makes common sense that they just get it the next school day.
I agree.
Right, I don't think since they're leaving for a football game at 2:00 that determines the end of the day.
No, I just meant that if they
I
didn't
know,
lose it, they
but
do get it to get on the bus.
There'll be a lot of exceptions. There'll be lots of people that believe that they're an exception to the rule, that they have a unique situation, and so.
But they're gonna have a buddy next to them that says, hey, can I use your phone to text my mom and tell her I lost my phone from the bus?
What about Fridays?
Absolutely.
What about Fridays?
See you Monday.
Loses their phone Friday, they don't pick it up till Monday morning.
There's gonna be set number of hours.
I mean, school.
I don't want y'all to stay on
school
Friday.
days.
Tell the kids
I don't either,
not
I'm
to
just
use it
thinking
on
about the
Friday.
pushback on parents for kids there, and I agree.
Make
with
your
you,
kid follow the rules.
But, taking care of
Yeah,
younger
that's
kids.
Kids taken on a Thursday.
Yeah.
That's true.
We'll just have to set designated times of parent pickup.
Because
Yeah,
if they
and-
lost it on Friday, then they lose it all weekend, the parent shows up.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean, I
say
think
we're
if we're
going
gonna
out of
institute
town.
hours of pickup during next school day, we need to spell that out. Hey, if it's on Friday, you don't get it till Monday.
You're
And
gonna
yes,
run-
they're not gonna be happy, but you know what? You're in control of that.
Well, is that parent gonna be more supportive of a complete ban? Or the inconvenience of picking it up the following Monday because unfortunately your child chose not to
Your
follow
child can't have their phone
rules?
for Saturday and Sunday.
I think it gives the parent the option to make that decision for their own child.
Yeah.
Like, the school's not mandating it, you're not taking it.
Yeah.
But how do you enforce something like this in a bathroom? You
Well,
don't- I mean, there's gonna be spaces.
If we say they're in their backpacks, are they taking their backpack with them bathroom?
You just can't have any backpacks in the bathroom.
Or make sure you're not getting something out of it.
Every kid that walks in the hallway goes to the bathroom, takes their backpack.
In the hallway, yes. I'm talking about between class. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
talking
but
about
then-
like during class to check out. No, you're right. I mean, it's not gonna be fail-proof.
So are we
Craig, you got any
considering,
cell phone blockers that we can put in the bathrooms?
Yeah, maybe I'm serious.
Actually illegal.
Oh, Craig. That means you looked it up.
We were ready to spend tech money.
Dr. Carpenter, the bus ride to school and the bus ride home from school, they're allowed to
It's
take
before
that?
the school day and
Yeah.
after the school day.
Yes.
It's a school day.
They can have
Bell to
them on
bell.
Even
the
though
bus.
it's school property?
Yeah, bell to bell, school day.
Okay.
Do we know how many districts are contemplating banning them completely?
None that I've heard from.
None.
They've all been backpacks or yonder pouches.
As much as you want them gone completely, like the parent factor, like they're gonna want to be able to see that their child's on the bus, see that their child's actually walking home, and be able to do that. Like there is a convenience factor and an emotional safety factor in that. So
I didn't have that growing up.
But that's a-
right,
that's a
and that's
rule.
why we have therapists. So
Yeah, anyway, I'm not necessarily in favor of banning them, but I think that's what the state law is kind of basically saying in some ways. But I appreciate the feedback that, there are ways these devices are being used to communicate with kids, whether it's even instructional or fine arts or extracurricular, that I could see how that could be useful at the secondary level. At the elementary school level, I'm a little more strict, I think, but,
And there are
I need to
devices,
pass this in my own house, quite honestly.
I was gonna say, there are devices out there that are just I guess you'd say sports or health related, and they're not necessarily a phone, right? They can track.
Like a Fitbit.
Like a Fitbit or something like that, that can.
Make
I know
that
you were talking
exception,
about,
Margaret. You're
about
opening
that.
the
I mean,
door.
there are options if they still wanna continue.
Yeah, but those phones have Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of them have Bluetooth.
Yes.
That Bluetooth to a phone, because that's what records the cumulative data.
Gotcha, okay.
I mean, there's air tags too, that parents could put in the backpack.
Yeah,
Under the skin.
okay.
That's right.
So I think the issue is, I mean, this is a policy that has a lot of teeth in it, but it also has some grace in it. And if it becomes an enforcement problem,
Yeah, I mean, the policy in and of itself has grace, right?
Yeah.
Or, that's why I said, we can try it. If it becomes too much work for them and they're not following it, the second alternative is
Come back
the death penalty.
yeah.
Because
Okay.
local policy, you can adjust it anytime you want.
All right.
Okay, so we'll go back in and talk with them about designated time for parent pickup, get that added in the regs, and then we'll bring all that back on the 4th. We good?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, House Bill 6, discipline reform bill. So this one is the one that is going to give really more power to the teacher for removing students who repeatedly interfere. It eliminates the requirement on a teacher to document the behavior prior to removal. That has been a thing in the past, and requires written consent of the teacher or a return to class plan for the student to come back into the classroom. So this has been much needed, I think, for a long time, and as far as giving teachers opportunity to have instruction without a lot of disruptions. So that kind of gives you the information there. It will prohibit any exemptions from Chapter 37 in the District of Innovation Plan. We will be going through formal training with legal counsel with our campus and admin teams on July 29th? 30th. And so that's coming, but any updates from this from a policy standpoint will be in the update 126. Nothing we have to bring you right now, just wanted to update you on that as well. It also allows the elementary students below the 8 grades of third grade to be in ISS, is that right? Below 3rd grade now? To be an ISS, that was taken away several years ago, and that will be added back in as a consequence for students, for the younger students. So have that. It also addresses I think if y'all remember a couple of years ago, they did the mandatory DAEP for vaping and e-cigs, but then you could DOI out of it and just use your ISS or whatever. So you can't DOI out of it anymore, but it's a mandatory 10-day, where y'all know this, mandatory 10 days now in ISS if you're caught with an e-cig or vape, no matter what's inside of it. Okay. So let's not get into ISS, people. All right, Senate Bill 920, Dr. Jordan, administration of medication. Do you want to talk about this one just a little bit?
Sure. So at the secondary level, our nurses are very supportive of this. Elementary level, there's a little bit more concern, and the reason for the concern is it's harder for a younger student to really understand how they're feeling. And I can give you an example that you have probably seen yourself. When you have a 6-year-old, it's bedtime and they're crying that they're hungry. They're really just tired, you know. And so it's that kind of thing where it's hard for a young child sometimes to describe exactly what's wrong. And so the nurses feel perfectly comfortable administering Tylenol to an 8th grader who just got their braces tightened, but not as comfortable for a kindergarten student who says they have a headache. And so they would prefer the parent come and do that, because they also don't know, let's say it's an allergy medicine, how is a 6-year-old going to react who maybe hasn't had it very often? Is it going to make them sleepy? Is it going to make them hyper? Whereas a student who's in 10th grade has taken it plenty of times and there's not as much concern. So from our nurses' perspective, you know, they love it for secondary, but are more hesitant when it comes to our elementary.
And so what do we think the recommendation is going to be?
So we'd like to keep it as is, which is what I've just described, that to continue to allow it at secondary, but to limit it to students in 6th grade and higher. And then for our elementary students, continue to ask a parent to either come administer it or have a prescription for a student for an over-the-counter medicine.
Okay. All right, Senate Bill 401, UIL participation for non-enrolled, also known as homeschool students. So this bill actually started in 2021, and it was an opt-in situation. Districts had to opt in. In 2023, it was revised where districts still had to opt in, but they were going to provide some funding allotment to it. And now the law is a district has to completely opt out, or automatically homeschool students are allowed to participate. So we've had a team meet and talk through several ways, collaborate on some different things. And so I've got our athletics team and our fine arts and all here. Also our secondary principals got to this impact to talk through this. But essentially it requires school districts to allow beginning this school year unless the board adopts a policy that does not allow it. It is a year-to-year situation. So you could change your mind next year if you want to do so when the year starts. Obviously, homeschool students still have to qualify with their grades, and it spells it out on the UIL website, what they do to show eligibility, and those kinds of things, and their previous athletic participation form. All those pieces are still in place, and it's for students that live in your attendance zone for the previous 12 months. Same things with UIL, and then otherwise it goes through DEC. So those things are similar. So I've got our coaches here. Mr. Bird, Ms. Turk are here, and our Ms. Lumsden and Ms. Knowles kind of answer any questions y'all have. We've thought through it in a lot of ways. It wasn't just a hard yes or a hard no. There's a whole lot of stuff on both sides. So I'll kind of open it up and let y'all have a discussion.
So I'll ask, in 20, so as you said, this was available for us to opt into since 21?
Yes, sir.
And then in 23 and 24, they had tied funding to it.
Correct.
But we didn't opt in. Do we believe now we should? And what, if so, what changed? Why not those 2 years, and why now?
My best recollection, it was I never was allowed to speak on behalf of it.
What?
My opinion was taken, but I wasn't brought to the board to discuss it to the board members. So I'm an advocate for it. I was an advocate for. I think it's unique. I think the state legislature is adopting different types of alternative education. So I think we're going to maybe some online options in the very near future. I think with regards to maybe some catch-up strategies academically for kids to, if they don't fit to the conform of normal school, that they can use some strategies to get them a high school diploma. And I think homeschool basically fits in this category. I would like to see it approved just for the simple reason is I think there's some one-offs. We have a student golfer that went to a golf academy to enhance his golf skills to potentially be a college golfer. He chose this academy type training and chose homeschool to get his education. He would be a perfect candidate. I think it happens in the tennis world too. Megna, who was a tennis player for us last year, she wanted to be gone from school a couple of times, and we didn't have the leniency built into our rules for her to miss that many days, and she had to come back and take all of her tests. Well, she was a solid A student, but she wanted to go play these professional tournaments and miss, and we didn't have those types of rules built in. So she would be a perfect candidate to go homeschool because of the demands of her sports and come back and do it. We have since lost a baseball player, all right, that has chosen a different academic path to attend a private school because they're more lenient with their educational program to fit his opportunities to go play junior Olympic baseball and be gone for most of the fall semester in a foreign country. So there's some exceptions to it. So I think it works. If we're going to try to meet a kid where they are educationally, if they're already living in Argyle ISD, I think it benefits us because I'll be just transparent. My participation is down, okay, and I think it's down just because of who's coming to Argyle ISD now. I just don't think there's not as many football players. It was very heavy. We had great participation, 80 and sometimes 90%, and that's not our participation right now. Okay.
So you talked about golf, you talked about tennis. I know they're both team sports, but they're also individual sports.
Right.
How do you feel about students that don't go to school with the other teammates and they show up? I just feel like that's going to create some sort of resentment. I don't know if that's the word, but
Okay, all right.
some
I mean,
some
that-
heads butting.
That's a valid
You know, you
observation.
get to show up, and I still don't know. I know you said that we get to look at their grades. I think the last thing I read said the parent just says, yeah, they passed it. Well, that's not.
Well, obviously, we've got to delineate what the expectations are, and I think in our meeting, and I'll speak for Fine Arts, is we expect, if they're going to do this, we expect them to adhere to the same demands as anybody else that's included in our programs. We don't see a compromise. They don't get to come to practice on Monday and Wednesday and play on Friday. We don't see it in a compromise situation. The current homeschool schedule is not a daily schedule. I'm very aware of the kids that do homeschool, and they don't go practice every day. Okay, if we're talking about including a homeschool athlete into our program, I know my expectation is if everybody else is doing it, they're doing it. So I would see a homeschool kid, we have a fourth period athletics, so we're 11:15 to 12:15. This is what we did in COVID in 2020. They showed up and they came and practiced, and then they left campus.
Well, I understand that the expectation would be the same. I'm talking about the team culture that's built sitting at the lunch table together, and then all of a sudden this kid shows up, to practice.
Yeah.
And that's it. They don't spend the day with them. They don't.
There is some team culture, all right, that does happen at the lunch table and attending class with them. I will agree with that. But it's no different than a different educational alternative. It happened during COVID. We saw kids go back to their
Everybody's
homes.
going through the same thing. Everybody was away and everybody was coming back. It wasn't, hey, you guys got to go do this and deal with the chemistry test today, and I'll show up to practice. Can we do this? Can we pick the sports, or is it all or nothing?
No, you can pick and choose.
So I'll piggyback on that. I struggle with this
I should have said. Not
because, I talk to people at work, I talk to my family, I talk to people in the community about this. And I've tried to, I think most people's instinct is no. And I try to be a little bit of a devil's advocate. I don't think I necessarily win those arguments, but I'll never concede that. I embrace what you're saying about choice and where education is going. And I've spoken about that from this platform and wherever I can be, is that we need to start thinking differently about how we approach education, UIL participation, and we need to be a little bit more bold in our thinking. And we've historically, as a district, have been bold, whether it becomes to school safety and security. We have not waited for what others do. We got out ahead of it. And this could be one of those things where you could try. And if it doesn't work, you change it the next year, is one thing. So I think it offers more choice. I think UIL, fine arts, is a great outreach for our community and people that are not invested in our school district. That may not vote for bonds or may not vote, things that we think are important to be successful. And I can see that being a positive, where they get more investment. They donate their time, their resources, their volunteerism. They may not be in public education because they have heard bad things or had a bad experience, but this may be an opportunity to change their perspective on public ed. So there are positives I can come up with in a policy like this. My question, though, is what do you think do you think it's going to be widely, like all of a sudden we're going to have 20 football players show up and 5 basketball players and 9 baseball players?
I think you have to take into consideration the regiment and the commitment that our players have. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a culture shock. I think we'll have kids reach out and maybe try to do it. I'm not sure the success rate will be as high as they anticipate. So we've talked about the regime. We have a good product. We have a great product. And I can tell you from 2 homeschool kids in the last 5 years that have left homeschool and enrolled in school, that they go, oh, if we had just known our public school experience at X was not this. and our kids are loving the social piece, the routine, the challenges. So we introduce them to what Argyle ISD offers, and then we get them as a full-time student. And like I said, I just had a conversation with a gentleman that lives in Denton. I'm not advocating for accepting surrounding homeschool students. And he was talking about, like, yeah, I got 6 kids, and 2 of them are wanting to participate in athletics, and it's the demands on us, and we have an interest in it. And I go, well, right now, sir, I mean, if we approve it, we'll do it in the board meeting in the next couple of weeks. I said, but the long story short is, we have a great school district, you need to move inside the school district.
And so I see the cons of it. I mean, I think it could be, that could create a lot of friction within the team. Parents are always challenges in anything. So I absolutely appreciate that. But I do also want to think that there are potential positives. And one of the things I think I always want to be mindful of in public education, right or wrong, is that the success of the extracurriculars in the UIL I think it goes hand in hand a lot of times with the successfulness of the school district. I think the successfulness of our extracurriculars has benefited this school district greatly. And I do think our participation levels are changing a little bit as our population grows and evolves. Our percentages change, and this may be a way to continue to improve those programs, invest in those programs, and have successful programs, which is going to benefit the district.
So,
there may be individual kids or families that have bad experiences, but overall, if you have a successful extracurricular UIL fine arts, you're going to have, it goes hand in hand in many respects.
So I think you're right about giving choice. We have to start looking at different ways and things like that. But then I would tell you the flip side of that is you mentioned community members that want to participate or vote for a bond or this or that or the other. What about the family members in the community that's already been doing that? And their kids next to be the drum major, one of 3 drum majors that you have? 4, see? And you know what I mean? I
get it.
I struggle with it.
The only other example I would give y'all is what happens if you have a starting point guard move in.
Hey, if they move in the district, I can't control that. I can have impact on.
I understand. But that's a little bit, a coach, from a coach's lens, is he's managing that at the team level. And I don't plan to compromise. If a student can't do the things that I need them to do and play football and be a homeschool kid, I'm not moving forward with them, right? I'm just not going to do that. And Coach Westmoreland and I have talked at length about it. The demands of our band is we can't have a part-time person, right? So I think the control of the situation is going to be put on us to maintain our standards in extracurricular. Okay? Listen, if you say no, I'm fine with it, right? I'm just trying to tell you, looking at it from our lens, it is the equivalent of a first chair trumpet moving in, and the kid that's been first chair since 6th grade moves to the second chair. It's just, it's that equivalent. It is. It does look a little bit different, but when we start doing online school and these type of things, it's going to look different. It's going to look different. And like I said, are they doing the same things? I don't know. We'll have to set up criteria to make sure academically they are doing the same things.
And it could be good in the sense that you may have an extracurricular that's not viable from a participation level, but that homeschool kids could make it more viable or could create more opportunity for kids. That's one. But the other thing is I think it ebbs and flows. Some programs are stacked and loaded because you have 2 classes that are really good, and then they graduate, and then goes down. So it's a year-to-year thing.
Totally agree.
With all these sports. The last thing I'm going to say, and let other people talk, is why did everybody laugh? Who laughed? Craig, you laughed?
Because we don't believe it.
It's not the last thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
They've heard that too many times. I think in the cut sports, I struggle a little bit more with it than I do the non-cut sports. You know, if you have 3 kids move in on the basketball team and all of a sudden 3 kids that are enrolled in school get cut, that bothers me a little bit more. Football's a non-cut sport, and if a better kid moves in, a better kid comes in. I mean, they're kind of used to that in some respects, but they're not getting cut from participation.
I understand that.
So I could see being more open to it in sports that need higher participation, and I can see being open to it in non-cut sports more than cut sports.
What are surrounding districts doing? Because this speaks to, the closest district to them.
Yes, which we do have control over as well. We don't have to accept anybody as our own. Even if we opted in, even if we stayed in, not opted in, even if we stayed and did not opt out, we do not have to accept outside of district homeschool students just because we are accepting our own. I can tell you Pilot Point started last year, and so far they have only had athletes. They haven't had any fine arts kids yet, because I talked to their superintendent. They started last year. Weatherford has been doing it since I think pretty much this whole time, and have their experiences. They have gained students into the district to enroll because of their experiences. That's been theirs. I will say majority of districts are opting out surrounding us.
Yeah.
Or that's the plan anyway.
And that goes back to what I think, though, being different, being bold, being a risk taker, not doing what everybody else does. One of the things that drives me crazy in this is we always look, what are everybody else doing? And that's how we do it. I think sometimes the well-beaten path, if I keep doing what they're doing, I'm going to end up like them.
I think I'm more looking at it from the geography of it, like the closest participating district. That's what I was looking at, not like, are we a sheep or something like that.
Has Louisville ISD made a decision?
I do not believe Dr. Rapp
And Northwest has not either, right?
No, but my understanding is let me go back and look at I have a chart. Let me see. I don't think so.
What?
Keller is.
Keller is. I think Keller is, and Pilot Point are the only 2 I have right now that.
Keller's opting. Keller's not opting out.
Correct.
That's correct.
If I could add just 2 other things is, there's options too. You can make it a sub-varsity only. The first year a kid was
Which
here.
is
So there's an option where a
Bridgeport's
kid
doing that.
wouldn't take any sports. And then I think we're in a very unique situation when our participation in athletics is kind of tapered off a little bit, but we are going to be open another school.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in that school when we open, it's going to be participating not only in varsity as freshmen and sophomores, but you're going to have to field sub-varsity teams too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's going to be as much cutting. I know in the volleyball here this year, we're going to try to have 4 teams instead of 3. And so I do think a lot of the sports are not cutting near as much as they have in the past due to participation and just being in that unique situation where we're going to be going forward and we're going to lose some kids that are here to go down there. And so, that's just another couple things to think about as far as that part. And, you set boundaries. You said, hey, your first year you have to be sub-varsity. Well, then in that year's time, like Coach said, that kid may get over here and love it. And their parents, if they're living here, they may send them to school here, or if they're out, there's options there too. So,
I like that.
Just some other things to think about.
As you grow into it, right?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
And we may hate it.
It's no different than a UIL waiver. All right, a kid transfers in, they don't approve the waiver, they play sub-varsity for 1 year, and then they get a chance to play varsity. And it's a year of acclimation for that child.
Well, I also like that if we try it and it doesn't work, we're going to change it.
That's a good thing. Year to year, it's
You're not locked into it.
And we would expect them to discipline-wise and everything. And
Would
it's
you-
very, very, like I said, it's a zero strike policy is what we're supposed to do.
As both of y'all, athletic directors of women's and men's sports, would you resist saying opt in certain sports and out on others, or
Okay,
or
so
across the board or nothing?
I think both scenarios could work. All right, I'll be politically correct on that. Here's the sports that I really believe, and that's just been in it for 38 years. I think golf and tennis are probably our most probable sports to have a homeschool. I think probably baseball, softball are probably our next. Okay, and then it's a sundry of it's a shot in the dark on where the next ones come from. So I just think the academies and the attraction of summer league sports and spring leagues and AAUs and things like that for some of our students all right, and choosing a different academic platform to adhere to. Homeschooling. Right? And that's gonna be a challenge on us too, keeping up with that. Because we're in the mix of pulling grades and checking those individual students where we've leaned on Ms. Lemish collecting the grades from the teachers and sending them out and just having a really foolproof way of checking them.
Do you have a thought on the high school versus middle school? Would you limit potentially to high school only?
Right now, my gut tells me that this needs to be a 9 through 12 decision. I'm not, there's a lot of other options for middle school. Right? I mean, you got any opposition to that? Anybody? Do you think middle school?
Points I want to make that aren't related to that, but I think,
Microphone.
We're not trying to keep you from
I think it's a good idea to just do high school, and not middle school, just so more kids can participate. Some kids have never played, let's say, volleyball before, and they get on the court. Their 7th grade year, they make it. Their 8th grade year, they're on the A team. Their freshman year, they're on varsity. And if they got cut as a middle schooler, they may never get the opportunity to try that. I love to live in a community where we can have different opinions and still be friends and not be mad at each other. So I am totally fine if we do this or don't do this, but just a couple points I would consider is, I think school, sports and theater and band are what gets some kids really tied into school, and it's what really motivates them to do well. So I fear if we let in homeschool students, do we lose some students who now aren't bought into school? I'm concerned about that. And then I'm a true school pride girl. Like when my son was at Tech, I'm all red and black, I'm guns up. Okay, not guns up, wreck 'em, whatever we're supposed to say, that's politically correct. But, now I'm an Eagle, and that means something to me for a kid to put on that Eagle uniform. I think that that's our school and that's representing our school, and I personally think kids should be a part of our school if they're gonna represent our school. I think these tennis and golf people are elite athletes, and they have opportunities because they have that skill and that talent level where they're gonna get opportunities. There might be kids at our school who may not ever have another opportunity to swing a golf club for a team. I think even our vision and values kind of says we're gonna give our kids a place that ties them in and makes them wanna be here. So I don't like the idea of, like you said, a cut sport, taking one of our kids who are walking our halls every day, taking an opportunity away from them, so someone who's already playing an elite sport can come in and wear our uniform.
And at middle school, I mean, I hear some pretty astonishing numbers, and I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
they're
rumors,
big.
but I mean, in terms of volleyball tryouts
Yes.
and basketball tryouts, I mean, that they'll have, 7th grade will have 75 girls or
Yes.
boys
64
show up. And,
Right.
you only have A, B, and C, so you have maybe 35 spots or something.
I think next year for middle school is a different dynamic because the school on 377 will be smaller. So maybe there wouldn't be as many kids cut, and then the school on 407. The problem right now is I don't really see how we could add another team, like we already run 3 teams and everything. We have 2 wood floors, that's it. It would be very hard, I feel like, to run a meaningful practice. Like if you take, for example, there's some overlap in basketball and volleyball season. It's hard for just 2 wood floors, and add a 4th team would be almost impossible. So maybe next year when there's less kids, there wouldn't be as many cuts to do this. But I just really, I know some kids who left because they were close to getting caught and about to have some investigations done, according to them. So they withdrew and go to homeschool. Some of those kids have been good athletes. So I like the fact that I know what standard we're holding our kids to. And I think a grade check at Argyle High School or Argyle Middle School, a grade is a number on a page, but what you get to earn that grade at our schools is all comparing apples to apples. And I think when you start comparing homeschool grades to our grades, it's not the same thing. It's gonna be the right grade on a page, but that doesn't mean that it equates to our grades. So school spirit, go Eagles, that's what I'm feeling.
I know we can.
We've debated this before.
I know you can limit which activities are utilized that you don't opt out for, but can you limit the number of spots, saying that we have 5 spots for someone that's homeschooled to participate in this activity?
I don't think we can do what we want to.
I think the policy, from what I understand, is we set the policy. Now, you don't get to have admin regs that you change from year to year, but I think you can set it and say, we'll allow up to 10, homeschool students in grades 9 through 12, or whatever it is, in the first 10. And she, as Ms. Lumsden brought up the point about students, if they're enrolled and they're rocking along and it's October and they get in trouble and say, I'm just gonna go homeschool and still participate, they can't do that. They can't withdraw during the year and then still participate. They have to be homeschooled previously before the year starts for them to be able to participate under this law.
Can I say one more thing, even though I promised?
It's
that
okay.
was my last
Nobody
comment.
heard you say that.
Okay. If you were going to tell me that Argyle ISD may offer a virtual learning or homeschool option in the near future, because maybe that's where education is going and it fits with the choice movement, I think I would be inclined to say absolutely not. We're opting out, because if you want to play UIL Argyle sports, you enroll in our virtual learning academy. We offer that, and so, and I wouldn't want to do things that encourage people not to be a part of that academy, that virtual learning. But we don't offer that right now.
About 2 years away from it. About 2 years away from it.
About 2 years. So if that's something that, I just wanted to, maybe in the interim I may be able to look at it, but I don't want to see 5 homeschool basketball players on the court either. In the interim, and that's my biggest concern. Parents are great, but there are also problems. There are going to be problems either way, whether we have opt in, opt out, or whatever. You're going to have parent problems.
Josh Western at Argyle ISD.
Yeah, man. It's.
So I know this says homeschool, but do we run the risk of students from private schools taking advantage of this?
It's non-enrolled. They have to be homeschooled.
They have to be.
We have verified that.
But to your question is, if we approve it, do they unenroll at the private school and take the homeschool?
And they
route?
could, yes, do that.
They could.
But they can't be doing
So there's
that.
not a point in time where you say, hey, you have to designate your kid as a homeschool.
We'll have an application deadline. I think that's what policy
Yes,
had, right?
yes.
Right,
An
so that if
application.
somebody gets in trouble at a private school, they can't
Absolutely.
jump out
Right.
and jump.
Yeah, there's an application. It's not all year long. There's a deadline of when
There's
you have
open
to apply.
enrollment.
Yeah.
If we have the option too, we could limit it. We said, hey, we're only gonna take 10 at the high school. You can do that, correct?
It's my understanding, yes.
You can say, hey, we're only gonna take 10 kids total across whatever sports. And you can set up guidelines. It's kinda, when I was at Brock, they set up, when they started taking out of district transfers, they said, hey, come over, you gotta try out for at least one UIL academic team, and also, our principal at the time did a great job of screening the kids and saying, hey, if you're gonna come over here, it's not you just come over here, you've gotta participate in what's going on. Now, that's different, it's not a homeschool, but, they were able to set up guidelines when they did that. The kids had to come in here and try. You can make it here, hey, you have to try out for 2 sports, there's options you could do. You can set it up basically however you wanted to do that.
Have you had students reach out to you or families reach out to you and express interest in this? Or like the 3 students you mentioned, have they mentioned that if we opted or did not opt out, that they would want to come and play their sports here?
I did not get an answer from them about if we opted in.
Okay.
I did have a prearranged meeting with one of them that's left for a private school
Okay.
about the struggles of dealing with the academic demands and when they played junior Olympic baseball. But we did not discuss the other piece of it.
And is that the school, is it our attendance policies that keep him?
Yeah, it's just,
It's
and
not.
the attendance
it's
policies are
90%
not
rules
bad.
law. It's state law. It's the 90% rule.
But we do adjunct professors to get around that.
Correct.
We had a kid that was climbing.
No doubt. We have them for volleyball all the time. They just didn't have they didn't fit those criteria.
Right.
Yeah, we have options.
They have to have someone
It just
elected
didn't
the whole
fit
time.
their situation.
In Japan.
This is just a curiosity, just a liability question. So I know you're not an attorney. I'm just asking anyone in the room. So, band, you get to school at 6 a.m., you do your practice, then you have class, and then it's a Monday night, and you've got practice till 9:30 p.m. Parent says, well, I can't come get them, and they're on campus all day. They don't have a ride. You have football. They're there in the morning. We're leaving at 2 in the afternoon. Parents like, well, I can't come get them. They're there. Whose responsibility is this child?
Mine.
Okay, but is that a burden of liability that we need to look into? I guess that's
I
what I'm looking
believe
at.
Pilot Point has that as part of their application. Like it's
Okay.
built in. That they have to leave campus when the activity period is over.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
And then
They're
they
expected.
They have to have their own
I think actually
transportation.
Weatherford
I'm
has
just
it.
trying to think
In
of.
Weatherford too. Yeah, they can't stay on campus and they have to provide their own transportation.
Okay.
What does a cell phone look like, the cell phone rule look like for them?
Same. They follow the same discipline, student code of conduct, and the athletic and fine arts student code of conduct as the every other student when they're on campus.
I don't know that I'm prepared to sit there and say, yeah, let's just do it all across the board, but I could see me experimenting with some sports or something and just seeing how it worked. You know, I mean, I could see that.
I think
Potential.
we open ourselves for an opportunity to, over the next 2 years, before we split to 2 high schools and before we have a virtual academy, to pilot it. And are there certain sports, are there certain activities, and then be something that we evaluate and we look at and say, and then 27 say, yeah, we're for it all the way. We're gonna do it modified our way, or we tried this experiment and we don't like it.
And Mr. Bird, can you speak to fine arts? Just, I mean, we talked a lot about sports, but I mean, how you would, I mean, do you think it's something you'd like to see opened up?
I don't think it affects us like it does the cut sports. I think there will be a few students who move in who already play a musical instrument who want to just be a part of an ensemble, and I think it's great. I don't foresee like them taking away anything from anybody. The drum major, we talked about the drum major. That's going to be really difficult for anybody to come in and in just a couple of months and be a drum major of the Argyle High School band. It takes years to get that, right? But you know, it's a good. I get the idea. I just don't think.
If you eliminate middle school from it, then virtually in high school it's almost impossible.
Yeah, I think what you would get is probably a student who moves into the district and just homeschools, and maybe they were in a band in the previous
Really talented.
district. You could get, I mean, I think a very small number. So I don't think it affects us like it does the other, Ms. Turek, right? I mean, would you agree? Well, I think some of the like one act play, those are cut at the middle school level for sure. You want to talk on that? All right, here we go. Yeah, Ms. Turek.
It's a little different. So with One Act Play, for example, which is the UIL piece that we do, we are limited by numbers for the state. So we are allowed 24 students maximum, and that's also depending upon the show that you pick and how many actors are on stage, etc. But at the same point in time, if I can speak from all the years that I've taught theater, students that typically leave the stereotypical school setting that go and perform professionally, they're not coming back to a normal school setting just for a UIL event. They're going on and they're working at Casa Mañana, they're working at places all around different areas. If they want to, I've had a student who actually was a homeschool kid for years because he was on US national tours and then came to Argyle his 8th grade year and did UIL. But he was a student who was there with us, who built the relationships, who really delved in and has remained, continues to act on the side, but I don't necessarily foresee a homeschool student coming and just wanting to do UIL One Act Play, but I could be wrong. But it's just a little different because we are kind of a cut performance art and theater, so just a little different.
Yeah, I think for us, I'm a teacher and I'm an educator, and if a kid comes in my door and wants to be a part of our band program, I'm okay with it. I think that the students who are enrolled in our classrooms, I don't think they would be offended if somebody was sitting next to them playing an instrument. You know, I don't see it taking away from us. I think it adds to us. And I'm sure there's something I haven't thought about that might take away from us, but I don't see that. So I'm okay with it. I'm also okay if we don't do it. So there you go. Any other questions? Did I answer everything?
That's good, thank you.
All right.
What's our timing?
Yeah.
So normally it's August 1st, but because of the legislative change, UIL is giving until September 1st this year for the board to make a decision.
But we gotta make a decision, and then you've got the paperwork.
Yes, correct.
So what's the deadline?
So I mean, we would bring it August 4th, whatever direction you're wanting to go, so that we could obviously advertise. And you want to explain a little bit on the participation piece of that, that's more probably for your varsity sports. Yeah, as far as your wait time, 15.
Yeah, it'd be 15 school days.
Yeah.
We start on August 11th, right? Tuesday.
Right, so they would just have to wait.
I just think
until that
we
happens.
would just jump through the necessary hoops to get those things in place, but it wouldn't be any different than a kid moving in.
Right.
But we would have to, if we knew we were gonna do it, there's some, obviously, some dedicated work time to defining what policies and strategies we'll be using, responsibilities of duties, who's doing what, who's checking on it, the follow-up. We'll have our own eligibility, I'll put it on my calendar so I get these things done, because I'll have a one-off and I won't be waiting for an email from Ms. Lemish. So I'll have some responsibilities with that, right?
How does the funding work? If we accept 10 homeschool students, and 3 of them, after a couple of weeks, come to the realization that this is not what they thought it was, and drop out. I mean, do we get a portion of the funding? Do we get zero funding for that?
I don't think we have a deadline as to when they provided that allotment. It's through, we have to turn it in, but I'll find out for that, of when the.
Yeah, I don't know that either. I know it's $1,500 per sport, so.
Per student, yeah.
Per student.
Let's try to figure
I
out
think
when
there
that
would be, it looks like there's probably an application process. So I'm sure it's gonna be done through our UIL portal for
Correct,
homeschool students. So we'll have to select that on there. We'll be afforded to look at the paperwork. You go from there, and I'm sure it's some kind of submission along those lines.
So it is per student, per activity.
Correct.
It is.
So.
Yeah.
Is this a thing where enrollment is open all year, or do we have a deadline?
No, they would have to, in normal years, you would have a deadline. So like Weatherford and these guys that do it, they have a June 1st deadline. Like applications are due June 1st for the following
Right.
year. It's not something that just goes on and people can come in and out. Like there's a hard
So
cutoff.
we would do something this fall and have
Yes,
an
it would be
application
a pretty
deadline,
short
and then
turnaround.
Right.
September 1.
Like I said, I don't know about the deadline for a spring sport, but I think the models that we saw, there's a deadline for all sports.
Correct.
Right, if you were gonna run track at the end of the year, you had to have that paperwork in, so you would attend all of the preseason training as well.
Gotcha, okay.
Thank y'all for being here.
Yeah, appreciate the input.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will follow up with them and we'll go from there. If we have something, we'll bring it on the 4th. Okay. All right, and then Senate Bill 12, this is gonna be Parental Bill of Rights. There is a lot in the Parental Bill of Rights. Most of this will be coming through the Update 126 this fall. However, it all comes into play, so we're learning and processing it as we go. But it'll be updating on the grievance process. It is prohibiting instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity. It's prohibiting all the DEI practices. It's prohibiting clubs that deal with student clubs that deal with sexual orientation and gender identity. And it's also an opt-in now for parents to give permission for their students to participate in a club on campus. So there's a lot to that we've got to work through and put some systems in place. Plus there'll be some policies coming in. Those are just kind of the main highlights, but it is a very lengthy bill as well. And then Senate Bill 13 is a library standards bill. I'll let Dr. Jordan talk a little bit about this. We addressed this last summer, subcommittee of the board with Dr. Jordan, but there are some additional updates.
I'd say the biggest two different things that are the main updates. One of them is just parental access, and we have that ready to go. So I'm talking with our technology department today, and we already use Destiny, so we don't have to purchase anything to make this happen. At this point, the guardians will receive an email every time their student checks out a book They also have the ability to go in and select books they do not want their child to check out. So that's ready to go right now. So we'll be sending out something to parents at the beginning of the school year, letting them know how they access their child's account, but it's set up that parents will be getting the email. The other part of it is the board can decide if they want to create the school library, what's the A? Slack.
Student
School-
Library Advisory
School
Council.
Advisory Committee, yes. So that would be a committee of parents and committee members that are appointed by the board, who are the voting members. It could also include non-voting members of staff members in the district. So that's the other piece of it. In speaking to the library representative at Region 11, the input from her was she doesn't know if districts in our region that had planned on doing that. At the point that I had talked to her, what boards decide to do, of course, is still up for grabs, but at that point, she had not heard that there were other districts in our region who were making that decision.
Okay. And then 569, we've referenced the virtual school a little bit. So 569 is a virtual school bill that requires the Commissioner of Education to adopt rules and regs for a full-time hybrid and virtual campus. And it must require districts to engage in a whole year of planning before offering a course or any types of courses. So this will be a work in progress. This will also be one of those type of bills that will require additional personnel from a planning standpoint and learner services. So we will be addressing that and discussing that with you next spring when we're talking budgeting. But that is coming down the pike. It's also not just a full-time virtual, but considered a hybrid where they're in campus some and virtual some. So that is something we will be waiting to see what those rules and regs look like coming from the commissioner, but then providing us the opportunity to do some planning. And then we have to, within that, if a district chooses to operate a plan, we would have to demonstrate capacity to execute that plan. So there's a process with TEA you would have to go through.
But the funding attached to it is the new piece that
Yes.
makes it a viable option for us.
So the funding is the same as if the student was here?
Correct. And right after the pandemic, there were a few districts that kept having their virtual, but they weren't funded for it. And so what they're doing now is they're coming back and addressing that and tying funding back to it and opening back up because you couldn't opt back in at that point. 571 is an update to misconduct reporting, and so that requires principals now to report to the superintendent within 48 hours. If the principal becomes aware of evidence of an educator's abused or otherwise committed an unlawful act with a student or a minor, you cannot investigate beforehand. You can't do anything like that. They have to report within 48 hours. Superintendent has 48 hours then to submit it to SBEC. So there's no more, let's see what we have here. Let's try to figure out if we have a need to investigate. It's a report immediately. So that is new. Very serious about that rule. In fact, they sent personal letters to every campus administrator in the state of Texas, every principal on listed in the Ask Ted database in the mail, plus emails, so they wanted to make sure that message has gotten out. Child abuse and neglect reporting has been changed from 48 hours to 24. The law has changed, so we'll be training on that. And then requires reports of child abuse made to law enforcement agencies can no longer be made to agencies inside the school district. So it can't be, it has to go to an outside agency, not a school district police department. And then it repeals the provision that allows superintendents to complete investigations and misconduct prior to reporting, which I mentioned. So that's all. Policy changes will be coming in the update 126, but those are in place for this school year, regardless. So those are kind of the highlighted ones that obviously have taken up a lot of our attention and time this summer, working through and trying to get everything ready for school to start. We will bring the ones that need board action immediately to the August 4th special meeting, and the rest of them will just be updated in 126 when the update comes out.
It's a mouthful.
Yes, it is. All right, great conversation. I appreciate all of y'all being here. Thank you for engaging in that and talking through that, and we'll have some follow-up we'll talk through the next couple days with you guys on that. Okay, student code of conduct. This is pretty short because a lot of it's related to it, but the code of conduct requires board approval, and it's late obviously this year because it's a legislative year, so I'll click through these real quick. That's pretty much everything we've already covered. The code of conduct House Bill 6, you'll see the code of conduct will have changes regarding teacher removal of students. The nicotine delivery product and e-cigs, first time offense, that's a misspelling, it's supposed to be SE. First time offense will be the mandatory 10 days, changes to ISS and OSS rules, and then certain mandatory expulsion expansion. So Dr. Daniel he sat in on the TASB update the other day, provided us our information here, and gave us our slides to go through, but he's been working on the student code of conduct, and there's not much, and we don't have any opportunity to change anything. It's just it's the law basically. So he's got that in there. He also has changes regarding SB 12, which is the clarity of filing a grievance. The changes 1481, which is the personal communication devices, so that's in the code of conduct, as well as Senate Bill 326, which is a new definition of anti-Semitism. And they've got that in there to make sure that is defined appropriately according to the Government Code 448.001. So those are the main code of conduct changes that you will see in the code of conduct, and we'll ask you to approve that on the 4th as well, so that's done before school starts. Any questions on that? Okay.
All right, this is for the supplemental pay schedule. Dr. Daniel had prepared this for you. Basically what's provided is you have a cover sheet, and then you have a list of all the supplemental pay that are available for employees who, it's for non-hourly employees who coach or participate in the extracurricular. And the list there, I believe there were a few additions this year. One of them, there was a position that was added that we mentioned earlier, visual and performing arts. I may not have that title correct.
Performance and visual arts
Thank
coordinator.
you. That's the title there. Things like that were added, and spent some time on this trying to make sure that we had everything covered, and everything that we've done in the past is actually in here. So that's the exhaustive list of all of the supplemental pay that's available throughout the year for employees. This would come back in August for approval. And if you have questions and I don't know the answer, then we will get Dr. Daniel to bring the answer back.
So there have been no changes other than those other ones you mentioned?
I believe there were a few minor changes other than that. Some were just making sure that we were in line with what our practice actually was, making sure that the names matched. But I will have to make sure that we have a list of anything else that was added.
Okay.
All right. The next item, I think, is the district insurance. This one is an action item. I believe that Dr. Daniel had this for you, I think a couple of months ago. We talked about it in a budget workshop. When we talked at that time, potentially, I think it was 50 and 100. We're looking at right now 50 or 25. And that is an increase in the employer contribution per month for employees that participate in the health insurance program. So that would take it from $300 a month to $350 a month. We have about 51% of our employees are enrolled in the program. So you're talking about just over a majority of the employees. The option here that's being recommended is the $50 a month contribution, and the annual cost is $240,000. That's well within our budget that we were talking about at our last update and last workshop, where we were discussing some potential surpluses of that budget, and this would be included in that. And we have already looked at, making sure that we've run this, looked at the employees that are participating. Of course, there's always open enrollment and changes, but we're still right now streaming close to 51%. So it's discussions every year of whether we're going to, put more towards a raise, more towards insurance, and we're trying to balance that out. Last year, we did some towards insurance, some towards one-time payments, and this year's more towards the raise and some contribution to the insurance. The health insurance has increased. I think there's some links in there if you want to go out and look at what the health insurance increase are, but anywhere from $49 to $191, depending on the plan and the level that the employee's in, whether it's employee only, employee family, employee and spouse, something like that.
but this only benefits, if you were to approve something like this is only gonna benefit 51% of the staff.
That's correct. You know, I think since I've been here, this has been a conversation most years. You know, what do you do? Do you try and do more for pay? Do you try and do more for health insurance? You know, when we ran the, Dr. Daniel got some estimates last year when we increased this last time of how we compared and were we competitive in the health insurance compared to our peers, and we were lagging behind at that point in time. When we bumped it up $50 at that point, I think we were $250 and went to $300. It got us closer to the range, but we were still behind some of our peers in that and what we offered as far as the health insurance contribution.
And they also went to regionalized premiums by region, and so Region 11 is now the highest premiums in the state, which is us.
And so my feedback is I think if we're in that unfortunate position of being in Region 11 with the highest premiums, we should respond to that and try to be more competitive and not lag behind. And the other comment I'll make is since raises benefit 100% of the staff, that I think that I'd like to see the district consistently focus on funding raises and prioritizing raises over contributions to health plans that only benefit 50%.
Isn't health insurance pre-tax?
Health insurance is pre-tax.
Yes.
Right.
So it's not just $50 across the board in a pay raise, right? It's more than that to be comparable. And,
yes.
And you get to a point where you've raised it 50 or 75, that now that 51% becomes 62%. Right? I don't know.
Right. Right now, we're keeping pace for the base plan for employee only is basically what we're doing, because that raises $49 and this would be $50. So you lose your competitiveness a little bit when you go up to employee and spouse or employee and family if you're not on the base plan, because the cost there, and over the years the cost has escalated quite a bit. There has been legislative help in the past couple of legislative sessions to keep the max increase, I think, at 10 or 11% for the highest region. And so these increases are with legislative help. Just to let you know what
basically money that we project to have, but it's coming out of what our projected surplus would be.
That's correct.
And it seems like an appropriate use of the surplus.
Right. It's we felt good about the compensation plan that we brought to the board, and the board so graciously approved earlier this summer, and so this was the next step.
Yeah. Have we ever done staff survey to ask them, hey, you want $65 pay raise, or do you want $50 in health insurance pre-tax, or whatever, how that
I don't think
works.
we've ever asked that question to the staff as a survey.
But we did talk about in the workshop that maybe the staff that doesn't participate in the plan should get $50 a month or something comparable. I mean,
Well, that's why I say, if one's pre-tax and the number's gonna be higher. I'm just curious what we wanna be fair to everybody, right? And so.
And we can look at doing
worth
that survey
asking,
in the
I think.
future, before we consider anything else, but we can, certainly look internally. I think a staff survey is pretty easy to manage.
Is that a yes, Greg? It's easy to manage?
As far as a yes, no, like what you would prefer, if you only have two choices, and if you have an open-ended.
I just want A or B.
But again, the survey won't be pure either, because you're not gonna get 100% response rate.
That is correct.
They want to do it when employees are actually working, not try to do it over the summer when
Yeah.
they work.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
make it part of open enrollment next year. Because you have to decline coverage, or you have to accept it, so.
Most years, I think there's some years where there's a rollover.
Oh, but we gave them an opportunity. If they choose not to respond, then they get what they get. So my mom always told me, get what you get. Don't throw a fit. See?
So this is an action item.
It is an action
Does anyone
item.
else have any other questions? Mr. Westrom, you rest.
Yeah, no, I was actually encouraging you to move forward.
Right. Wyverly, I'm gonna abstain from participating in this action item. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item 11A as presented.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Westrom, motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Sorry, Mr. Hawksworth.
No.
That is on you with the second. That was quick.
It was a trifecta. Forgive us.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. We got you next time, Mr. McDowell.
Thank you, sir.
All right, the next item is the flexible school day, that they presented last month, in June, I guess that was. So we had Ms. Lemish, Ms. McGuire, and Dr. Quast here. Who is here to, okay, so they're all here. They're all here. So this is being brought back to you, no adjustments, no changes to it. And so they're asking for that opportunity to start that program, apply for it, and then get the Edgenuity software and workstations. If you have any questions, obviously they're here to answer any of those.
I don't have a question, but again, as I've talked to a few of you after the last board meeting, I really appreciate you guys working through and kind of developing this. I think it's a great opportunity for some of those students, so thank you.
Okay.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve action item 11B as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Matthew Slayton, motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
There you
Is
go.
that Mr. McDowell?
It
Mr.
was.
McDowell with the
You
second.
better get out of the way here.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Congratulations, ladies. Thank you for your hard work. It's gonna be good for kids.
Thank you for your support.
All right, student nutrition lunch prices. So we talked about this last month. At the time, the tool had not been published, so we were estimating. Since then, they've been able to verify the increases, which are the same that were presented last month. Elementary campuses, you're at a 10-cent increase for breakfast, 25 cents for lunch, and secondary, as you see listed there, 10 cents for breakfast, 25 cents for lunch, and then at the high school, we have the market, it's $5.25 with no increase. So any questions? Student Nutrition Fund is still self-sufficient, and the general fund is not supplementing the Student Nutrition
Increases
Fund.
match the increase in food costs that we're getting? I mean, you can take it, it doesn't really matter. I'm just curious.
I feel, yes, they feel like it is. We don't have as much choice at the elementary level on the prices because we do have to use the tools since we are on the federal program. At the secondary level and where we're off the program, we have a little more flexibility, and they match these to what they feel like will cover our cost.
Okay.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item 11C as presented.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Western, motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Artho with a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
All right, budget amendment. So again, this is action item this month. We talked about it last month. There is a change on here in the amount of the amendment. We've added the function for security, excuse me, due to a new Senate Bill 33. There are some requirements there that were to cover ballistic shields and breaching materials are required at every campus now. And so we've included the cost in this amendment, as well as the cost of the startup of a new officer and K-9. So you saw those costs when you approved the position, but we did not have it in the budget amendment at that point in time. So that's the main difference between last month and this month. But if you look at the overall on the last page, it changes our surplus to $291,000. And again, as I mentioned last month, this will not be our last amendment. You will see one on August 4th for information, and we'll bring it back for approval on our August regular meeting. And it will address the 6 weeks enrollment. So there's a small increase from the 5th 6 weeks to the 6 weeks as far as the ADA increase from enrollment there. As well as the anticipated revenue for the first few days of school that are in our fiscal year, and the expenses there to go along associated with the current and new staff. So there'll be some large adjustments on that, and it will increase our surplus some. We're still working on the final amount there, but this will not be the last budget amendment that you see this fiscal year. So any questions on that? If the function 52 security, you can see there is a line by itself that was $129,000 for those two combined items.
They're giving us any support on those? Or just telling us we have to have them?
telling us we have to have them. They will tell you that they increased our security allotment, but it still doesn't cover what we spend.
Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and I will say, the majority of the startup costs are in a vehicle. That's the highest.
No pun intended. All right. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item 11D as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Hawksworth, motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Dr. McDade with a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
All right. And finally, I think, is this our last item? Last two items here. We have Matt Bowles and Julie McMillan from RBC here to help talk us through our bond sale. We've been talking about this since our bond passed in May successfully. Our plans have changed a little bit with the legislature and some information, some rules that they passed. And so Matt and Julie will go over that, but they also now have a bond plan that's in there. Yes, that RBC plan there, and I'm going to turn it over to them to go through their plan. Thank you.
Oh, you want to give that to them, please? Thank you.
We missed you last time, Matt.
I know, that's why I'm standing here. No, thank you for the introduction, Liz, and it is great to see you all. I cannot wait to get in my car and call my 12-year-old and say, no phone next year. He's going to flip. Anyway, it's great to be here. Julie and I are here to
get it either.
no, I'm definitely not. I'm not, definitely not. I like that strategy. We'll get that back next year, buddy. We're excited to be here. I think Liz said it correctly when she said things have changed with the legislature. I'm sure that won't surprise you all. The original plan was to stand here in front of you tonight with the idea that we would ask you to sell $76 million of some existing authorization you had and then your newer authorization. That amount's going to triple. So we're going to get you to the point of better understanding why that amount's going to triple and why it's in your best interest to do that now. And it has everything in the world to do with a hold harmless payment that they're going to make you. So I did want to give you a sense of where things stand in the market, as I always do. It's been a really, really busy July. So when you have May elections and you have the proliferation of bond elections that got passed, there's a season for permanent school fund guaranteed Texas school district bonds, and this is the season. July, the last 3 weeks, we've had an incredible amount of supply. This week alone was a $3.4 billion week. Not all of that was Texas school district paper, but a lot of it has been in the last 3 or 4 weeks. We're going to talk about a calendar in a little bit. We're looking at doing a transaction for you in the first week of August, and we think most of this will have sifted out of the market. That's my way of saying that rates did creep up for just a little bit. They are now beginning to come back down by the day, and I think by the time we get into August, we'll be in a more agreeable market. But understand that we're not letting rates stop people from borrowing right now. They're still near historical all-time lows. If you take COVID out, we still have less supply than we have demand, and so all the factors are in your favor, and that's what this page essentially says right here.
But isn't the surge in selling in July because every district's looking at it going hold harmless?
Correct.
If I sell now, I get 4%.
Correct.
Hold harmless.
Isn't that going to flood the market and make the rates change?
Well, it just did.
If that's what
It
you're
just
saying.
did, and we're about to work our way all the way through that supply. So this has been a bit of a guessing game as to how to calculate that additional state aid, and Julie's behind me and can stand up here anytime, but by selling the additional amount, going from 76 to 210 million, the state's going to end up paying you $17 million more than they would otherwise. So we are trying to maximize, we're trying to sell as much as we possibly can this year, but we have to keep within that 50-cent test band, and so it makes it difficult. So we're pushing as hard as we can to get you as much as we can, financially prudent, financially sound, but we want to capture as much state aid as we possibly can, so everyone's looking at that plan.
And then we enter the 3-year window of where you have to spend it,
You have to
correct?
spend it, or
You have to reasonably expect when you sell the bonds that you can spend the proceeds. I believe that we've covered that off with Liz and Dr. Carpenter, and I believe that you can reasonably expect to expend the proceeds of $210 million within a 3-year window.
Is it a reasonable expectation, or is it's not actual?
It's reasonable expectations with
No
no
more questions?
penalty.
Thank you.
That concludes my presentation.
That's it. I mean, that's really it.
Seriously, that really,
that's it.
we've kind of hit
beat
it right
up Julie
there.
last time when you weren't here,
Yeah.
we beat her up.
Julie took the brunt last
Awesome.
time.
She did great.
She's the best. She is
She's
the best
good.
for sure. I'm going to go through a couple things. You've already nailed it. I love you all for that. We are looking at $221,105,000. That number may go up slightly. Don't know. We're going to maximize that amount as we get closer with real interest rates and real data as we put it into our model. Just $3.5 million of that comes from your previous authorization in 24. The balance comes from authorization from your successful campaign in 2025. The change in the state homestead exemption from $100,000 to $140,000 is the main driver for making this a larger sale, but I do want to reiterate for those of you all listening at home that this is still a very financially prudent plan. We're just accelerating sales into this year. We do not think you will have a bond sale in 2026. We don't think we'll be back here in the summer of 26. We'll have a rest year. We'll get to see where taxable assessed valuations go, and that gives us a high level of comfort. We are contemplating the issuance of 2 series of bonds. One is traditional fixed rate bonds like you've always sold in the past, and the second is a new tool, but it's a tool that's commonly used in the Texas school district world and one that we would like to introduce here, which is a fixed rate bond for a 3 to 5 year period that gets reset every 3 to 5 years, but it has a long dated maturity, so it allows us to put a significant amount of debt out at the end of 30-year amortization, but reset the rate every 3 years, so you get the advantage of the short end of the yield curve. So it's a lower interest rate, gives us some flexibility on repayment of those obligations, and fits well with what we're trying to accomplish. I did want to go through the assumptions very quickly. As I've said many, many times standing before this board and previous boards and administrations, you all sell debt when growth necessitates that you can sell debt. That's been the plan here. So when the growth comes, you sell debt and then you stop. And when the growth comes again, you sell debt and stop. And that is because we have the state mandated 50-cent test that we have to pass when you sell new obligations. That said, the district has grown at a very rapid and consistent pace for a long period of time. The historical information is in the bright blue bars at the bottom of the page. You can see that it's been very consistent. It's not as graphically severe as it might be if you blew that up some, but you've essentially gone from $1.5 billion in 2015 to over $4 billion in 2024. So it continues to grow on a 10-year basis at roughly 15% per annum. We are only projecting that it grows on an average basis of just under 10% per annum for the next 10 years. So we're deploying yet again some more conservatism to buy us some space to issue the additional obligations that you all have authorized. A lot of words here. I won't go through all this. The third bullet point we've discussed already, but the additional state aid due to the homestead exemption is the aid that the state will step up to indemnify you against tax loss this year. So these obligations have to be sold prior to September 1 of 2025 to qualify for that additional state aid. We plan to sell these obligations the 5th of August and close prior to that 9/1 date. And again, we're just trying to maximize as much as we can to get as much state aid as we possibly can. I do want to mention that we've had conversations with Moody's Investor Service. The district's current underlying rating is AA3, but it did previously have a negative outlook. Because you are issuing a significant amount of debt and essentially taking $450 million in debt to call it $660 million in debt, we do expect to see a chance of a rating downgrade into the A category. I do want to remind you, though, that these obligations are sold with a AAA rating due to the permanent school fund guarantee, so you will still qualify for that. In terms of interest rate costs, it could be 1 basis point, 0.01%. It could be 5. We won't know until the day that we price the obligations. This is not uncommon for a fast-growth school district. I think Dr. Carpenter and Ms. Stewart have done a fantastic job of staying connected with them, providing the information that you all are providing them is abundantly important on an annual basis, and we're doing the best we can, but that's something that we'll take a look at and we'll be in touch with you about.
The alternative is lose $17 billion from the state.
There you have it. There's some information on this page about the Series 2025B bonds, and I gave you a summary moments ago, but this is essentially a way for a school district to sell long-dated bonds, so bonds that have a 25 to 30-year maturity, but price them with a short-term interest rate because you reprice them every 3 to 5 years. There are a lot of Texas school districts that do this. We've listed some there: Dallas, Denton, Eagle Mountain, Little Elm, Prosper. And it's traditionally used in districts that are high growth, fast growth, bumping up against the 50-cent test, and it allows you to pay down debt as you have the ability to pay down debt and actively manage your debt portfolio, and that's what the district has always done. One of the barometers that the rating agencies look at is to make sure that you don't have more than 25% of this product as your total debt mix. This would make up essentially right at 1/6, so you're well under that 25%. I think it's financially prudent. I do think that we'll be watching it every year to make sure that we reset rates when it's advantageous. If at any given point in time short-term interest rates should rise, you do have the ability to go ahead and fix these out just like the rest of your fixed rate debt. So you do have that as a fail-safe. I'm very comfortable with this. I'm happy to talk in more detail about this, but it's been a product that's widely used and we're extremely comfortable in using here. Now, there's a lot on this page, and I won't profess to want to go through all of that with you, but I will say that this is Julie's handiwork, and this contemplates these 2 series of bonds, skipping a year in 2026, and then systematically having sales every year thereafter until 2031, when you will exhaust the existing authorization from the 2025 election. So that's my way of saying not only have we thought about what you're selling this year, but how we'll deploy the sales in the future through 2031. And this meets with what we believe your construction capabilities will be for all of your contemplated facilities through that period of time. If you look at column 21, I'm having trouble seeing here. We've highlighted that, and you can see there that we max out at 50 cents for a couple of years, but you do begin to see it come down over time, and this assumes that we hit all of those taxable assessed value growth rates that we've outlined in the model. This is our way of showing you that you do have future capacity. So if in 5 years you need another election, I'm not suggesting you will, but if you should, we will have the capacity to do something additional so long as we continue to grow at the pace that we think you'll grow, as outlined in the previous graph on 2 pages prior. So again, financially prudent, tons of conservatism. We are pressing the model right now to capture additional state aid, and I think this program is right-sized for where you all stand right now.
I'm sorry, can you go back? So is the reason there's no TAV growth after, it looks like 34, 35, is that because we're projected to be built out?
It's just conservatism. It's us saying we're going to stop growing the model because we can't see that far. Once we get 5 years into this model, we'll grow 5 more years beyond that. We sort of leap our way into it. It's just our way of wanting to be as conservative as possible so we don't put you in an awkward spot in 20 years of having to meet a projection that was made 20 years prior. It just doesn't seem reasonable. Any other questions while I'm on this page? These next two pages are just the individual scenarios for the 2025A and 2025B. Right now, we're projecting that the 2025A bonds would be sold at a rate of 4.84%, and the 2025B bonds would be sold at a rate of 3.87%. And then finally, we have a timetable of events here. It's obviously, we're here tonight to get your approval on these two individual orders. They are separate legal items, so they'll have to be passed upon. Each one of them will have to be passed upon and voted upon. We had the conversation with Moody's this week. The plan would be to put these obligations in the market on or about August 5th. I only say on or about because we do have the flexibility per the order to move this around if we see market volatility. But that's the date that we've targeted as of today. And then close on the 26th of August so that you have proceeds to spend at that point in time.
This is just observation. Like it seems like the tax rate's going down quicker than I would have anticipated. Like it doesn't stay at 50 cents that long.
Well, especially since you're talking about using these certain bonds that you can push the cost out. I would have figured that we would have stayed up against 50 cents for longer.
Well, and let me show you why on that series of bonds. Where'd he go? See where the principal amounts are in that series of bonds? Mm-hmm. So assuming you didn't pay any, you reserve the right whenever you reprice these on an annual basis to pay down principal, and that's what we entirely hope to see you do. As it stands right now, you would just be paying interest only in those years. But that's not what we hope to do. We want to, by the way, this is all for the useful life of the assets financed with this series of bonds well exceeds 30 years. So we're not mismatching anything here with asset to liability. But this is a place to give you some flexibility to pick and choose how much you pay off each year. If it's $1 million, that's great. If it's 10, that's better. So we can monitor that every year and work with your administration to pay off as much as you can. But in the next couple of years, as you deploy these new bond series, we may elect not to do that and to prepay principal from those elections or those series quicker. So it does all work together. This does give you some capacity. It does help you issue more. It does help you capture the state aid.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for me?
So you're saying that they could be interest-only payments for up to 20 years? Is that what that's looking at?
Yeah, well, that's the way it's shown here, but if you so elected to do that, you could do that. We don't have any school districts that do that. They always prepay some every year. What ends up happening is you get things like delinquent tax collections, and there ends up being a little more INS money than you think there will be, and they use that they reprice the securities at a current market rate, and they pay down the principal value when they do that. And then some of them say, well, we're in a very low rate, fixed rate environment again. Let's just go ahead and fix it all out and re-amortize the whole loan, and it gives us the ability to do that.
And you can do that anytime?
Anytime you reset the rate, so once a year on certain pieces of it, yes.
So Liz, we're effectively speeding up when we're issuing some of these bonds and having to put these dollars at work on various projects, which a lot of these projects had inflationary triggers tied to them. So the government's effectively incentivizing us to spend these dollars, which should mean that we save money on some of these projects versus what was proposed.
Yes, anything that we could speed up in theory would have savings on that based on escalation.
So if our architects and general contractors are listening, they should not be going over our bond numbers when we do bids. And any of those savings could go in.
Some of those bond numbers already have the escalation in them, so they should be going under.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We should, which could then be applied to the principal, and if once those are closed out.
Once they're closed out, we'd have to get with the legal bond attorney to walk us through that, yes.
Okay.
So, and it's a little frustrating for this hold harmless thing that's changing the law, you know, forcing us to do things and make adjustments. But I do see, Matt, I mean, there are very positive things about it. One, you know, by selling it more earlier, we're gonna potentially have access to hold harmless funds, and we're gonna potentially, we have a reasonable belief that these projects need to be done in the next 3 years. We got land, we got capital improvement, we got baseball, softball complex, we got plenty to do. And so I see some positives in this that could potentially save the district money.
Yep.
Call me crazy.
Any other questions for Matt?
I'm just one for Liz. I mean, you're my barometer, so, you know, how are you feeling with all of this and your comfort level and the doability?
We were provided, you know, this is a timing issue. The legislature does something and it kind of messes up your plan and you're scrambling, trying to get everything together. And you know, Julie had really helped us with that. We actually received our certified values, I think late yesterday, which is a few days early from our appraisal district, and they actually verified some estimates that we had that Julie had been using in our projections for this year. So if you compare net taxable year over year, we're still looking at about, and this is at the 100,000, right? They haven't given us 140 yet, but we have a way to estimate that. At the 100,000, our growth rate at net taxable is about 15%, which is a very high growth rate. That's still, if you compare freeze adjustable, we're still just above 13%. So those are well within the ranges that Julie and I had worked on and Matt had worked on as far as coming up with this plan and trying to make a change, you know, based on what the legislature had done. So I do still feel good about it. I think this is going to help take some of the burden off our taxpayers. If we do leave that state money on the table, then it reverts to being all of our taxpayer and our local taxpayers. It's their burden. So we do want to take advantage of that state funding. If you go back to the last time they raised the homestead exemption, the legislature actually put in, it was not just issued bonds, it was anything authorized and issued at that time. So say your voters had approved in May, right, that we had $400 and something million, it didn't matter when you issued those, they still held you harmless if that was 5 years from now. That's not what they wrote into law this time. And so that is a large change for all of us. And you know, it left us scrambling a minute, but we feel comfortable and confident that this is the best financial decision to have in that state funding dollars.
Okay.
Awesome, let's do it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the explanations in English and not deep financial ease, because it like you said earlier, you said succinctly, you know, this, and we're done, because that's essentially, you know, that's what helps you to understand it when you're listening to it, because these are big numbers.
They are.
Big numbers for a long time.
Right.
So, all good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item 11E as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Matthew Slayton, motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Westrom, second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. And I will entertain a motion to approve action item 11F as presented.
So moved.
Mr. Hawksworth silently motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. McDowell, second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. The time is 8:33 p.m. We will adjourn to executive session, and when we come back, there will be no action to be taken. Thank you all.